Okay, so you can see my gap, and it kind of just starts closing up a little bit as it gets closer that way. So I'm just going to take a file, and I'm just going to file it down a little bit more right there in the middle and try and even out this gap a little bit more. It's not bad, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I have this little opener here. I can turn it and it starts to open it. Oh, am I going the right way? Yeah, I was going the right way, but anyway, I'll twist that. It'll open up, give a little thing there, and then we'll work it back and forth. Okay, so to get this chrome piece off, there's these little clips you can see like this. You can stick it a little needle under and just pull them out. I see, where are they? Oh, right here. So try and get the camera and everything on there. So see, I just did that and just pulled it out and did the other side, and then eventually the chrome piece will slide out this way, and then they're held on by these little tabs on the end. So that way we can take it out, sand it, and be done with it. Working on metal is so much easier because this is like an aluminum piece. But you could just take your DA and just go straight down and go to it. You know, you're not going to affect it as much as fiberglass, because fiberglass, you start digging down into the, you know, and putting grooves and everything in. I mean, this is with 40 grit, and it's just, you know, it's just hard underneath. So yeah, metal's much easier to work with. All right, so now that I took the DA over there, and then I had this is actually pretty good piece here, because nothing's really bad on it. There was just a chip in the paint that I had to fix really there, and then I want to take these down just a little bit more for those clips fit on a little bit easier. Yeah, and then I kind of shaved it down a little bit more going along that way. So we'll see if I need to do more, but I'm going to take a hand block to it now and kind of straighten it out even a little bit further. So all right, so we sanded it as flat as I can. So now I need to build it up in some areas. So I'm going to do the Bondo first, and then I'll go in and fill in the gaps. So I did both sides. This one's nice and flat going this way. This one just needs to work on these huge gaps, but that other side, it needs to be built up just a little bit, just right through here. So we'll get some Bondo in there, fix that, and then, like I said, we'll work on the gaps. So let's do it. All right, since that's drying, I want to show you. We can go over to here and wet sand now. It's hard enough. So you can kind of see the little ripples. That's your orange peel and everything. So we have to cut it down to that. What I'm doing is I'm just taking with my fingers and that, and getting in with these really hard to reach areas first, okay? Because those are going to be the most sensitive cut throughs of these little bends and everything like that. So I'm going to try and get this groove right through here, and you can kind of see how they start disappearing. So I got one little indent right there. Something that just I'm probably cut it down just a little bit more, but we'll see. So I'm starting out with 1,500, and all I'm doing is getting it wet and just taking my hand and just, you know, going back and forth, and then I'm going to take the block and get this nice flat stuff here, because you don't want the grooves with your hands. But these areas, like within, let's zoom out a little bit here so you can kind of see where it comes down and grooves. I'm going to go all around all these grooves first and get in those areas. And once I work around that, then I'll come back and work on the flat area right here. But you see how it just went flat right there? And you're not pressing hard. You're not pressing hard at all. You're just gliding back and forth, gliding back and forth. That's all you're doing, gliding. So yeah, don't be like pressing hard. And this only took like, you know, just a couple of minutes to do that. So in this area right here, okay? So it's not going to take very long to color cut this. All right. So let's get back to this then. We'll color cut the hood, and then we'll come back and buff it another day probably. But then we'll just move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right, so I can kind of show you the difference. See those little, this is with the wipe down, you can kind of see how it's a little bit darker in those areas. That's where they're low spots. Kind of like over here, you can kind of just wipe it down with my hand. You can, so see, now that's with 1,500. Now we'll go with 2,000, you know, and just go a little bit by a little bit, like a little bit. See, there's a little high spot, and or no, that was a chunk. That was a paint flake that I blew off from this plastic. So anyway, yeah, you can see where I still need to go down and get that orange peel out. Like right through here, it's pretty good. You know, you can see some high spots like right up in there, and you know, I still got to get this area. I mainly went around this. I didn't get down really down in here. That's how you can tell. Just keep wiping it down, let it dry, and you can kind of see where you need to go back over. See where I got some high spots right there. So I got a bunch of high spots right through here, so I got to work on this side a lot more. But that's how you're going to be able to tell. All right, so I'm gonna get these high spots out one more time. You know, and once I get those down a little bit, then I'll go over with 1,500 completely with the block. So my little dip, tiny little dip right there, that's the one I was hoping it was going to cover, but I wasn't going to go crazy with it. So yeah, so all these little high spots I'm going to have to sand down and get those down first. So I could take the sandpaper and just kind of just rub it down just a little bit until it gets down, just with my hand, until it gets kind of gone, kind of like that one right there. So same thing, just sand it down until it gets nice and flat, and then once it gets nice and flat, then you can just go over it with your actual block. All right, guys. Okay, so I want to kind of show you, I broke through a little bit right there. That's no big deal. I'll show you how to fix that later on after we get it all done. Like the sharp corners, no big deal, because we can always come back and just tape it off just barely, and you know, no big deal there. So this side is 2,000. I could, you know, you can kind of see how it's getting softer and softer and softer. So there's a 2,000, and then this is the 1,500, so you can kind of see the difference. Okay, so this is the 3,000, has a nice little pad, and so I'm just going to use it like that and go over and get the last little bit of it, dry it off, and see if we missed anything major. And if not, then we'll let it dry a little bit, you know, get nice and dry, and then we'll start buffing. All right. So I went from 1,000, started with 1,500. That kind of cut all the big bumps. Then to 2,000, and then now 2,500, and then up to 3,000. Every time you kind of go a little bit more, the scratches get less, you know, finer and finer and finer. So that's just something that we got to do. All right, so now we're gonna buff it out. So I'm using the Meguiar's mirror glaze, medium cut first, and then I'll work my way down. And I put a bunch there, and then up on top of here, and we're gonna start buffing. Now you don't want to go too long in one area, just kind of keep moving around until you start seeing shine. And then you want another cloth to wipe as you go. Okay, see how it's kind of hazy? And then we go over into the non-buffed area. So you can see it real bad over here. So we're gonna buff everything and then go over, cut it down even further and further and further until we get that nice bright shine. So this is a really nice, good initial cut. Like I said, we'll come back and fix up these little areas on these corners. So those are just minor touch-ups. Okay. All right, we just take some more glaze or cutting compound, I guess. Put it down on here, put a little bit on the pad. I already did the other half, so I just kind of like to get started like that. Turn on the low setting, just to kind of get it in. And these tiny little corners, we're gonna have to do it by hand. Anything we miss. But the majority of this we can get with this DA here, or whatever you want to call it, buffer. Alright, so now that that's in, then I'll turn it up. Just buff it out. You can kind of see like a little bit of a shell kind of form up on it. That's how I determine how to buff it out. Try to get the majority of the big area. Kind of work in this area the most because it had the most defects. Alright, so then once it kind of gets looking a little waxy, just come and wipe it off. So there's a few areas where it's not perfect. Not a perfect job, but it's going to look a hell of a lot better than I did. Okay. pretty good. Yeah. See where I kind of screwed up a little bit in this area when dirt or something got in there, but I'll show you here in a minute. So we're looking a lot better here. That's that stuff right there. So some of the issues I had is I have little specks here, and here. You know, just a few there. I got some of that black wax, turtle wax, and that might cover it up a little bit. So we're looking real good. Now we're gonna do down by hand, writing down here, and then we'll go to the next step, the next cutting step. So you know, it's funny because, like, see how it's cutting right through here? I'm not worried about that. Like I said, I'll show you. There's ways to fix that real easy. So you know, you'll require just a and let it sit, and then you just come and just buff out that little area. So I'm not too worried about the edges. I was more worried about up in here, because you don't want to cut in there. And I made sure when I painted, I gave it a good, nice, thick layer right through there. All right, we'll go on to the next step. All right, here we are. We got the last little polish. I gotta get that rest of that polish on there off. I just gotta wipe it off. So I'm gonna get my wax and tar remover and get it on there. Looking real good. So there are, like I said, there's a little few imperfections. You know, there is, like, oh, come on, wipe it down. You can see like the little spots here and there. It's funny, I can see it really good on the phone, but in real life you can't see those spots. Huh, that's funny. But yeah, I can see like a spot right there and like right there. But like I said, much better than what it looked like before. And you know, it chipped right there for some reason, but we can fix all that. No big deal. We got a little thin right there. So yeah, let's see if I can, that's just all. But yeah, we got just a tiny little thin right there. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going for perfection. I just want it to look better than what it did before. So, you know, and already this is like way better. So I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. So now I'm gonna take this show car glaze and put it down just by hand. So not using a machine, just gonna put that down by hand, you know, wax on, wax off type of thing, and that should get it all, everything else done and off. So I'm gonna take that, like I said, that wax remover and get this off, or get a nice clean surface, and then we'll put that show car glaze on. I actually forgot I have this black polish. I'm going to use it. So it kind of just goes on there like a big paste. Take a little swipe, and then see, I could just go along here and get it. It's funny, my camera is not picking it up. It's actually way darker than it looks in my camera. Huh. Very interesting. Well, anyway, so I'll hand polish it and be done with that. Okay, there we go. You can still see the little ripples and everything, but like I said, it's way better than what it was. And see, now it's darker. I think it's just the way that sun hits on with the camera. But yeah, it looks way dark, especially compared to that. So yeah, look at the difference between that and the car. Okay, we're gonna let that sit. you know, for however long. And then, yeah, we'll let it sit, and then we'll come back and we'll probably polish it one more time before we put it back on the car. So just gotta let it sit and harden up a little bit more. Yeah, I probably should have let it sit. Probably should have let it sit longer, but the weather was real nice, and I will be okay. So, all right, that's it for today. Well, might do a little bit of sanding over there, but the hood's done there, so gonna look really good once everything's nice and shiny again. All right, thanks guys. All right, made a little contraption here to fill in those gaps, just like I did up within, you know, the edges of the hood and everything. So we're doing the same thing here, going all the way down. That way we'll get a nice even line. And same on this other side. Did the same thing here, except for the bottom half has the right gap, so we only had to do this section up here. All right, so we got that. Let that sit for a day and come back to it. All right, we're ending there tonight, so more progress, and hopefully, you know, maybe in a week or two I'll be able to paint the front here. So maybe we'll see.